Hello and welcome to this talk about RenderMan. I'm Markus. I'm a TD, a technical director at Pixar. And today I'm going to talk about RenderMan in general, because most of you that are here probably already know Cinema 4D, and but you might not have been able to test out RenderMan. So I'm first going to cover what this technology is about, and then tell you how you will be able to use it. So yeah, first, RenderMan, I'm going to talk about some of the recent advances in RenderMan, what's new in the latest version. We'll also cover some of the upcoming technology. So there are new releases coming soon, and then also the New Horizons will cover things like the Cinema 4D bridge. So the intro to RIS. What's RIS? I'm not sure if anyone here ever has heard of it. So yeah, you might ask, what is this? First, you might have heard of a so-called renderer race inside of RenderMan. That's sort of the core framework that has been in RenderMan for the past 25 years, which is pretty long, and it was developed back in '89. And now, a couple of years and some movies later, we're introducing RIS, R-I-S. This is a brand new rendering framework. So basically that means we have two kind of separate renderers within one renderer. So you can share stuff inside, and you can use both renderers, whatever you need or what you feel like you want to use. So I'm going to cover RIS because RIS has been out there for, like I said, 25 years, so it's kind of already known. RIS actually stands for RISC Integrated Subsystem. It's very catchy, right? But it also could mean something like renders interesting stuff. So everything you want to render can be covered. And yeah, it's for stuff like multi-bounce, single pass, fully traced global illumination. So people that might have used RenderMan here may remember that usually stuff like global illumination was done by pre-baking a point cloud and then taking that into account when rendering the global illumination and color bleeding effects. So now everything is happening in just one single pass running through with ray tracing in RIS. So yeah, probably every one of you wants to know, is it fast? The easy answer is yes. And that's the whole point of it, because for rendering, and especially stuff like multi-bounce, not just single bounce global illumination, speed is sort of the most wanted feature of it, because otherwise you might not be able to finish whatever you have to do in time. So we've attempted to make the fastest ray tracer possible for visual effects, so for very high quality. And we like to believe that we succeeded. It is very fast. Yeah, and RenderMan has been optimized for polygons, subdivision surfaces, and it can handle very, very huge scenes. But you don't have to just trust me because I'm sitting here and you're sitting over there. You can just try it yourself. So there's a free, non-commercial RenderMan version. It comes with no limitations. You can use every single feature. You don't have to restrict anything like resolution, or there's no watermark. The only thing is we ask you to not use it for commercial purposes. So that means if you earn money with it, you should buy a license, otherwise you're in trouble, but for stuff like studying, you can just use it and try it out. If you like it, let us know. If you have anything you think doesn't work, go to the forum and ask for help. So we're now extending the whole community out there. And so RIS and NCR, non-commercial RenderMan, is a very powerful combination. And we see the future in RIS. It's not old, it's brand new, it's cutting edge, and yeah, we wanted to make the best renderer possible. So we moved from the old RAIS that I mentioned now to RIS, because we said, okay, now that the world evolved, technology evolved, we have new demands, so we should try something different instead of just staying with the old stuff we already have. And yeah, we're trying to make it a standard in the industry, and now we're making it freely available for everyone, so you can try it, you can test it out, and companies will hopefully adopt it as well. At least the RenderMan users will. And but this is only the first step. We're working on lots of new tools, not just RIS. There's occlusion, new shading nodes, holdouts, stuff like that. That's going to come out. And we're putting also technology from Pixar and from Disney, which they use in production, in it as well. So you can use shaders that come from their production. So they're production proven, they're supposed, or they are fast and stable. So you can use them on your personal projects as well. And yeah, that's currently our standard. We're trying to make it artist-friendly. A lot of people claimed that RenderMan used to be very difficult to learn, which is true because you had a lot of power, but like Spider-Man said, or his uncle, with great power comes great responsibility, so you really had to take care of everything. With RIS, everything is handled in the back for you, so you have much more easy access to the pretty pictures, sort of, so you don't need that back end of research and development. You can just go ahead as a single person and create really pretty renders. So let's look at some features that are already in RIS and that come with it for free. So we have new lights, we have new shaders, and new integrators, and some other cool stuff. So first, the RIS lights. We're still busy working on it, or the developers are. They're all physically based. You can adjust the color temperature. You can add blockers. You can use different kinds of shaders that emit the light. They're all normalized, etc. Whatever you need of a physically based renderer is already included. And you can use lots of lights, so you don't need to take any restrictions there. And you have global sampling, so that means it's also very easy to handle. You don't have to tweak every separate light to make your render faster. You can just adjust the global sampling, and that makes it a lot easier for you to create fast renders. We have the new physically based daylight shader. A lot of architects usually use it, so you can just say whatever time you feel like you want to render it at that time, and it will create this mood for you. It also supports IES profiles. That's also usually something architects and visualizers use often. For those of you that don't know what it is, a lot of the light source manufacturers out there, they actually give out for free those profiles. So what you see here is that every different light source has a different distribution of light. And sometimes, especially with architecture, an architect demands you or asks to have exactly this specific kind of light because it has a certain feeling or visual quality to it. And yeah, we support it as well. So you can go find out what IES profile it is, download it, and plug it into the light, and the light will distribute exactly as the physical light would do in the real world. You can also plug procedurals into the light. So they are really great for instance, debugging purposes or scalability. And yeah, you can add textures as well to them, which is often more for the art direction, but it's also very important for our customers to support everything like that. So the RISC materials, they are also very robust. So we have an implementation of the Disney principled shader that comes with RenderMan. And we also have a layered material system, which is kind of advanced. It's a complex sort of material system that creates very cool surfaces. So this is now a screen capture of Maya, unfortunately, because the Cinema 4D plugin is still in development, but basically the features will be the same. So with the Disney principled shader come a lot of different presets. So with just the click of one single button, you can already create kind of very nice and physically looking materials. And it's super easy to use. And for instance, those renders here are rendered on a MacBook with 4 cores. And they were sped up by 2 times, but I mean, it's already quite fast to see what happens there. And this is the layered material shading system. So there you could, for instance, create something like like clear-coded car shaders, for instance, where you have several different materials layered over each other and that sort of have different surface attributes to it. So, and this is basically how such a layered shader sort of works under the hood. So you have multiple materials on top of each other, but you could also use layered materials within layered materials. So you could kind of create a whole sandwich of different materials that have all different attributes to them, and therefore create very, very complex materials, but at the same time it's sort of easy to set it up. And also, for those of you that know glass rendering, it can be quite a pain to create them believable, especially if you want to introduce global illumination as well, because of all the ray tracing inside and refraction, reflection that can create a lot of CPU processing overhead. But also this is very optimized in the new RIS, as well as subsurface scattering. So again, another effect that's very important for physical plausible renderings, but in here you see that it takes a little bit longer than just a basic plastic material, but it's also still quite fast. And for instance, this algorithm was developed in conjunction with the Disney research in Zurich. So it's very cutting edge as well. And so here we're going to talk about some photorealistic stuff. That's basically what most people nowadays want to do. It's also very simple to set up. This is a photo reference. And with RRS, you can create this render out of it. And this uses just one single light source. So you can get along with just a few lights to very believable pictures. Now I'm going to talk about the integrators. So that's also very new technology. We have a path tracer, and we have the VCM algorithm, which merges vertices at render time to combine the paths for bidirectional path tracing. And we also have stuff like you can have direct lighting, BXDF validation, so they are more for debugging purposes. And some more stuff coming up in the future. So for the artistic qualities, the two production integrators can create either the path tracer or the VCM. Basically, one of the differences is the regular path tracer is a unidirectional path tracer. So sometimes you get the same as with the VCM one, but in some cases it could be that the VCM gives you an even better image because it's bidirectional, so you don't just trace from your camera through the scene until you hit the light, but you also take rays from the light and bounce back, and hopefully sometime later will hit the camera. So this way you will also find very small lights, which in unidirectional path tracing can cause artifacts and a lot of noise or fireflies. So this is the render with VCM, which is basically the same, except that here you get for free already caustics. And in this case here, it's specular caustics. And the render didn't take too long, so it's still noisy. You could wait longer to make the render converge more to a very smooth version. But you already get an idea that it has a much more natural feeling to it. So another instance is those specular reflections. This render took about 10 minutes per frame on the same laptop, 4-core MacBook. So that's quite decent for specular caustics. And also some other cool features that are included. Checkpointing, one of my favorite features. Those are usually snapshots of the render state that you're currently processing. So you could say, like, every 10 minutes create a checkpoint, and let's say you start before lunch, and after lunch you have a daily, you have to show something to a director or your supervisor, and you have at least something because it first calculates the whole image in a very rough version, and then it refines it over the time. And with the checkpoints, you can create different versions with different kinds of quality. And if you say, like, okay, let's look at the 20-minute version, you show it to the director, and he can already tell you, okay, it's going in the right direction, just keep rendering it. So at night, you just resume the render. You don't have to start from scratch again. You just say, okay, continue that render because we liked it. Or the director says, like, oh no, you know, the light is coming from the wrong direction, you have to change the position. to create this certain mood. So yeah, then you have to change it, but at least you didn't have to wait till the next day till the final render would be done to get that feedback. So the turnarounds are much faster possible. Volumes, RISC does that as well. Also emissive geometry, that means you can make every single object in your scene a light source. So you can create light sources of various shapes, which is also very important. And also hair and fur, done very nicely. This sculpt and render was done by Bruno Ponte, one of the RenderMan community members. And with the new NCR, the non-commercial RenderMan, you can try it out yourself. So as soon as the bridge is done, you're welcome to download the version, start playing around, and then report back to us how you like it, and show some images, hopefully. So in the future, yeah, we are using our own software, of course. So, for instance, Andrew Stanton once made this quote that he really likes the images that are now created with RIS. And yeah, as you can see, we're adopting the technology quite early, usually in our production. So yeah, RIS is new in general, and it's already been proven to work on a whole movie. So yeah, that's very exciting for us. Some of the upcoming technology for the upcoming versions as well. The Disney Denoiser. There was a talk today about Hyperion where that was already mentioned. So if you wait for a final render that is 100% smooth, that takes a very, very long time. But getting to maybe 95% of a pretty render can be quite fast. So the remaining 5% usually is the stuff that takes the longest. So for that purpose, Disney wrote a denoiser for Big Hero 6, and we will integrate that technology in RenderMan as well. So you can create very smooth renders much, much faster than just having to wait until the samples are just fine enough. So here's an example of how that looks like. I'm not sure if you can, yeah. So the version on the left, that's a regular render, and with a denoiser on the right side. And here you see it a little bit clearer. So there's a very big difference. But they took the same time to render. And here again with some plastic. And here you see the noise in direct lighting that was significantly reduced with light localization. So that means that you find the light based on knowing the environment. So the code can actually look for the light rather than just randomly sample and trying to find it. So usually with sampling the scenes, especially for progressive rendering, you want a very even distribution. But progressive rendering means that you're going to go finer and finer while rendering. So you have to add samples in the gaps. But this way, it might be that you will end up with clusters because you're filling up spaces that might be small. So we have a new algorithm for our sampling that creates a very progressive sampling, and it is working much, much better. So here you see the non-progressive samples are quite coarse, while the progressive samples, after a few iterations, already create a much, much smoother and even image. So there you see the different samples. So if you have random samples, they would be very cluttered. The regular grid just doesn't really work. And we are now using the PMJ one, which is published in this paper, also by Disney Research. So PMG, sorry, is the one we're currently going for. And it also reduces noise and volumes a lot. And you can also combine volume rendering techniques. And here you can see the new integrator that comes with the new RenderMan Pixar UPBP. And there, again, you see it's a much more smooth result on the right. And here you have the volumes that overlap, or they can be nested, or you can have light sources within the volume and multiple scatter the rays. Everything works. You don't get artifacts, which is a very new and nice feature as well, especially for visual effects. And also from a Pixar production comes a new hair shader. This is now, or is going to be in the public version of RenderMan as well. And it was developed for Finding Dory. And it's using a Marshner hair system, if you know what that means. So it's going to be in version 20 of RenderMan. And now let's talk about the new horizons. So that's what most of you are probably here for, the Cinema 4D integration. Basically, all I've told you so far, the whole functionality, it's currently already built in the plugin for Maya, but it's going to be the same for Cinema 4D, so there are no restrictions there as well, so you can just have all this nice swag and work with it. Also, a very nice thing is subdivision surfaces in Cinema 4D are usually either over tessellated or under tessellated if you have both very big and small model features. But with the RenderMan integration, the RIP file, which is actually the file that's going to be rendered by RenderMan, will contain a subdivision call. And that means it's using Pixar's open source technology called OpenSubdiv. And it's also a very advanced version of how to tessellate subdivision surfaces. So you get very smooth models, but you don't have you don't lose the very fine details that you've also modeled. And it's also gonna support creases, so you can weight how much one area should be, or one edge should be smoothed or not. And also, which is very nice, the Cinema 4D standard materials and textures are going to be supported. A lot of renderers usually don't take on that task, so they just say, okay, we have our own materials and shader library, so we only support those. But with RenderMan, you can also just use your old materials and textures that you already used. So that will also be a lot easier for you to transition, but also to just maybe port over an old scene that you already worked on and just render it and see basically the difference. And of course, the latest technology, RIS. So far there was the plugin Cineman, which supported the race renderer. but now the new version will also have all the RIS stuff that I just talked about. And the roadmap for the development is that hopefully by this or next month there will already be a version 20 of RenderMan. Currently we're in version 19. And also later, even this year, a version 21. And we're also working on a bridge to Houdini, but the Cinema 4D bridge is currently the most advanced in development, so that's going to be released this year. And yeah, we're still, as Pixar, committed to using RenderMan, so there's also not really the danger of adopting maybe a technology that's going to die soon. So that means also that we really develop stuff for production, and it's not just some coders that do fancy algorithms, but they really do them for the purpose of making better, faster, and nicer productions possible. So that's it from me. I just wanted to introduce it, and now I'm open to answer some questions that you might have. We also have Tim Dapper here. He's the developer of the plugin for Cinema 4D. So if you have very technical questions, he's probably the guy to answer it. But yeah, whatever you want to know, go ahead. Yeah.
I have a basic question. You said that we can have RenderMan, but not for commercial purposes. Does that mean that, of course we can try it, but can we use some renderings after for our portfolio? I mean, that's a kind of commercial things because you are selling yourself. You are not maybe making money with that, but you are selling yourself. Is it done commercial or not? Can we use for our portfolio? I mean.
Yeah. So for those of you that couldn't hear it, the question was if it's possible to use RenderMan just for stuff for your portfolio rather than creating a production or just a student project. So the answer is yes, you can use it, because basically what people are doing is they might do a student short or just a personal project, and later on that's how they get the job. So as long as you don't sell the product itself, you're selling more or less with your portfolio or your real yourself. So, and that's just sort of showing it. So yeah, that's totally fine. Yeah.
What about movies for competitions? So is this, what about movies for competitions? Is this commercial?
You mean something like for film festivals where you win awards? That's also okay. Because, for instance, I worked on a student short, and I haven't earned money with it, but we won some awards with it. Yeah. So it's not the purpose of earning money. You're not selling it. You create something, and then you just sort of show it, and people honor your work. Okay. So that's also not commercial.
And, does RenderMan render dispersion? As light dispersion from light falling through glass?
Oh, so you mean like the different wavelength of... you can do it. It falls sort of under the same umbrella as putting in procedurals, so you would have to do some more extra work, but it is kind of possible, so you can sort of fake it, but most renderers don't really support it.
Yeah, that's because I asked.
Yeah.
Because there are only a few who can.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not very physical in that way, but with some sort of coding tricks, you can get a very convincing and plausible result. But it's probably not very the same as if you would have an actual prism or something.
Do you have a release date for the C4D plugin, or?
Not a specific date, but it's going to be released later this year. So yeah, I mean, we already have May, so it's probably not going to take that much longer.
Okay, thank you.
There was one up here in the front.
Thank you. How much is the license for a workstation, or how is it with a render farm?
For a workstation, RenderMan Studio is 495 per seat. For the render farm, I'm not quite sure yet, but yeah, but it's not that expensive. Do you maybe know, Tim?
No, I don't know, but is that dollars or euros?
It's dollars, yeah. So $495, and yeah. But if you want to know more information, you can also write an email to RenderMansSales@Pixar.com, and they're happy to help you out on that if you have further questions. Anyone else? No? Okay, I think then this is it. Thank you very much.